Cool. And kicking us off will be Maxx Gentleman, who is a non-binary stand-up drag DJ.
Hello, how close do I need to get to this thing? I'm a bit of a walker, so I will kind of take it out if that's all right.
Yeah. You want me to put the stand up or?
No, I think that sounds all right. So I should probably start with a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking about serial killers and violent murder over the next 10 minutes. So if it is triggering for you, and in all seriousness, I mean, why wouldn't it be? Maybe have like a quick 10-minute fade and just come back after that. The other thing that I should probably tell you is I'm going to regale you with a few teeny tiny anecdotes from my parents, and they are lovely people. And I've taken some creative liberties on those conversations, but I'll let you decide what's fact and what's fiction. I am wearing Patrick Bateman-inspired cake tonight. I'm going to take it off though because it is quite crunchy. I do have crops. I like crops. So I was at a gig not too long ago, and someone came up to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, that moustache, it's amazing. How do you cultivate that?" And I was like, "Cultivate? No. This is makeup. It's just like, face paint and all comes off. I'm not really like a face hairy kind of a they." And they're like, "It's giving me like proper Wolf Creek chic. Is Maxx Gentleman a serial killer?" And I was like, it got, I had the Carrie Bradshaw moment where it's like, it got me to thinking. Do you mind holding this for me? Because I need a typewriter. Is Maxx Gentleman... That's my typewriter, by the way.
Very authentic.
Is Maxx Gentleman a queer serial killer? Ching. Thank you. So from a really young age I knew that I was queer. From about 5 I was fantasising about Flash Gordon and Inspector Gadget. Go Gadget Fist! And then as a teenager I realised that most of my role models were violent serial killers. Yay! Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy and Eileen Wuornos, kind of a dark, like queer killer murder sort of connection there, but this is the 90s, I suppose. And so in my 20s, I had like a fast friendship with someone, and this was before like I was a married Mr. Gentleman. And so we met and we were talking every night and for hours and hours on end on the phone, and I went to go over to his place for a drink that night, and I called up, and this is like one of those old phones where you like have the, like the wire and you're holding, and so I'm calling. Finally he answers. He's super, super out of breath. He's like really, a little bit like me, like trying to catch my breath. Because I talk too quickly, way too quickly. And I was like, "Is everything okay?" He said, yeah. Just been watching a movie. It's like, "You've just been watching a movie? What are you watching?" He said, "Monster. Have you seen the movie Monster?" I said, "Yeah, Charlize Theron plays Eileen Wuornos, lesbian serial killer. Yeah, it's kind of insane, right?" He said, yeah. "Well, do you remember the scene where she strangles that woman to death?" And I said, "Yeah, it's quite traumatic, that one." He said, "Yeah, well, I've got a confession to make." I was like, "What is this going? Yeah, I just jerked off to that." And I was like, "Cool, so listen, I'm coming over in like 15 minutes. Do you want red or white wine?" Because in Australia we're very cavalier with our like violent sexual kind of connotations. I mean, the thing is, like, who here has planned a murder before? Like, don't be shy, we all have. There we go. Now, the people that didn't raise their hands, they have a lot more to hide, so we need to be so I planned a few murders in my time when I was a teenager, and they're a lot harder than you think. You need a lot of planning, it's a lot of hard work, you need to keep a lot of secrets, and if there's anything that Maxx Gentleman's not very good at, it's keeping secrets and hard work. Like, that was never going to be my career. So I came out to my parents, not as a murder planner, like I'm not Jennifer Lopez, that's not my thing. No, I first came out as gay to my parents, and they had a bit of a weird reaction. So my mum was like, wow, if you're going to live under this roof, then you need to either be a hairdresser, an air flight attendant, or I'm going to start finding some bodies in that backyard, mister. My dad's was even stranger though, and this is the really dark bit, and this is a true story. About that same time, there was a gay man decapitated and burned in a caravan in East Devonport, and that's not very far from where we live. So my dad said to me, Joanne, did you have anything to do with that? So my parents had kind of connected these things as well, and I was like, Dad, why do you guys blame everything on me? No. Like a good teenager that I was. I don't know if you know Tasmania, but it's just below Australia. It's quite small. It's shaped like a woman's private region. And on a Friday night, as the cars would whiz around in the city, you would hear lots of people yelling out, "Show you love Tassie!" That's where that comes from. So Tasmania's filled with loads of teeny tiny little towns, very small populations. And the only thing to really do on a Saturday night is either crochet or incest. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive, I suppose. So a bunch of friends of mine, two heterosexual couples and their like glittery unicorn friend, got on a coach down to Hobart. Now, Devonport's in the top part, Hobart's in the bottom. It's about a 5-hour kind of trip. And listen, give me a second. Just having a bit of a breathe. It's like a 10-minute sketch, squeezed into 3 minutes. I don't know why I'm doing that, but so we get on this coach to go down to Hobart for a bit of a weekend, and got the cheap tickets on a Thursday night. It's about 10 o'clock, quite dark. We're the only ones on the coach except for the driver. So we stop off in one of these really creepy, weird towns, and Ian gets this guy, and he's maybe mid to late 30s, and he's really scruffy, and I mean, it's kind of my type, I suppose, but carrying a duffel bag and smelling of piss and booze, basically. And he sits down in front of the two girls, and after a couple of minutes, he turns around, puts his face in between the two seats, like the hole kind of thing, points his finger toward their crotch, and he's like, the boys jump out of their seat, and their squeaky little 15-year-old voices are like, "Get away from those girls, we'll smash your face in!" And the coach driver hears all of this and he's like, "What's going on back there, fellas? Someone's going to get kicked off this bus in a minute." And so we explain the situation, and he's like, "You need to go and sit in your own seat, get away from those girls." And he does. He's very well behaved, and he sits in front of me on my own in this seat. And he's quiet. And after a few minutes, I hear this zip, and the duffel bag is open. And then I start hearing like he's massaging something wet. And then I thought, I don't want to get involved, la 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 la. I did imagine myself as a decomposing body in a ditch somewhere, but hopefully not this weekend because I really want to go to Hobart. And he starts nodding off. So he does that thing where he's shaking himself back up here. But then he nods off completely, he falls asleep. Thank God for that. But I hear this thwack of the duffel bag falling off his legs and onto the ground. And then start seeing this dark, trickling liquid going under the seats. And then these decapitated little heads of animals and entrails and guts pouring into between the seats. And me and my friends get up and we start creeping toward the back of the bus really quietly and getting into a shivering, huddling mess. And all I could really say was, I don't really want to be a serial killer anymore. I guess I'm going to have to be a teacher. And take this as a lesson of caution if there are any queer serial killers in the room tonight. I'll be Maxx Gentleman, and I love you so much. Legit, I need some help.